In today's video, I'll be showing you how to transform this andesite alloy farm that I made in my last video into this factory that not only automates andesite alloy, but also shafts, andesite casings, cogwheels, large cogwheels, gearboxes, encased chain drives, and one bonus item that I'll show you how to make at the end of the video. And I'll also leave a link in the description to the previous video. If you haven't watched that already, you may want to watch that first, since this factory depends on that. But without further ado, let's get to building. And the first step is to take this 11 by 14 foundation and make it into this much larger 26 by 31 block foundation. And to make shafts, you could use this recipe that takes 2 andesite alloy and creates 8 shafts. Or we could use this recipe, which uses a mechanical saw to saw an andesite alloy into 6 shafts, which gives us 50% more shafts than if we were to use this recipe. And to make cogwheels, we'll be mixing those shafts that we got with planks. To make the large cogwheels, we'll be mixing a shaft with 2 planks to make them. To make the andesite casing, we'll be deploying an andesite alloy onto a stripped log. To make the encased chain drives, we'll be mixing the andesite casings that we make with iron nuggets that we make. And finally, we'll be mixing the cogwheels and andesite casings that we make to create the gearboxes. Now we will be expanding the second platform, so we'll start off by placing up 5 metal girders from here, leaving 3 blocks in between. We'll leave 4 blocks in between and place 5 more girders. Then we'll place up 5 more here, leaving 3 blocks in between, and up 5 in the corner. Then we'll connect these metal girders on the top. Then we'll leave a 2 block gap here and place up 5 metal girders. We'll leave a 3 block gap and place up another 5. We'll leave a 2 block gap and place up 5 again. Then we'll connect these at the top. Then we'll leave a 4 block gap here and place up another 5. We'll leave another 4 block gap and place up 5. Then we'll connect these at the top. Lastly, we'll leave a 5 block gap and place up 5 more and connect these at the top. And we'll connect from here back to this girder. Then above all of these girders we just placed, we'll fill in the second floor. Then above each of the pillars that we placed, we'll place a pillar on top of the foundation. And we'll connect all these pillars on the side. And at these 3 corners we can place up another metal girder. And we'll break out these 3 girders as well, and place 2 more girders on top here. And we can also go ahead and remove these top parts of the girders by right-clicking on each of them with a wrench. So for those of you that want to know where the items output beforehand, the encased chain drives will output here, the gearboxes will output here, the large cogwheels will output here, the small cogwheels will output here, the andesite casings will output here, and finally we'll have the output for the shafts here. Now that we have the second floor complete, we can move on to making the tree farm. Now we'll start by placing down the grass for the tree farm in a 2x2 area here, and then we'll continue making 2x2 areas around like this to make this little diamond shape. Then we'll leave 1 block in between and make the same diamond shape. We'll leave a block in between here and make the diamond shape again. And we'll make this diamond shape one last time. And this grass is where our trees are going to grow. To actually harvest and plant trees, we'll break out these 3 blocks. We'll place a water wheel in the middle with a mechanical bearing on top. We'll place a double chest with 1 block on the end. Then we'll place 5 mechanical saws here to chop down the trees, as well as 5 deployers behind to plant the saplings. Now for this build I'll be using jungle trees, but you could also use spruce trees if you wanted, as long as you use jungle or spruce since they have the huge tree varieties. So we'll want to filter these deployers to only place down the saplings of the type of tree you're using. And since this contraption won't have collision while it's spinning, we can place a block down here with our portable storage interface to actually output the items. Then we'll need to super glue all of this together. And we'll place our water bucket here so it spins in this direction, because if it were to spin in the opposite direction it wouldn't cut down any trees, since the saws would be facing backward from where it was. And now that we know it's working, we can go ahead and stop it for now. So to store our wood, we'll make a 3x3x3 item vault here. Then we'll place a portable storage interface here to collect the items from this contraption with an output brass funnel. Then we can make a mechanical belt going from here all the way over to here, and we can give it power by connecting it to this mechanical belt, since this will give it the correct direction of rotation. And we can place an andesite funnel on the end to actually let the items into the vault. So to make the stripped logs, we'll be putting the jungle log over a saw, which will turn it into a stripped log. So we'll start by placing 3 mechanical saws in the floor here, filtered to only make stripped jungle logs. Then we'll place brass funnels here, filtered to only output the jungle logs. And we'll want to set these to only ever output one at a time, so it doesn't continue outputting logs before the mechanical saw can strip them, which means there would be more items on the floor which would cause lag. And the reason we don't just use andesite funnels, since they output only one at a time no matter what you do, is because we need these jungle log filters, since we'll also have sticks and jungle saplings going into this vault. But then we can place a 2x2x3 item vault here, and depots like this, and these will catch the stripped logs, and from the depots we'll place andesite funnels above them to take the items from the depot into the vault. So from the strip logs that go in this vault, we'll not only be making the andesite casings, we'll also be making the jungle planks using this recipe, which will allow us to saw the stripped jungle logs into 6 jungle planks, rather than just crafting them like normal into 4 planks. So the vault that will store the planks will start here as a 3x3x9 block item vault. And the reason this is so big is because we'll be accumulating quite a few jungle planks as this goes on. And as for the andesite casing storage, we'll be placing a 2x2x3 block item vault here. And this item vault will store our jungle planks. So the belt that will bring the strip logs to get turned into andesite casings and then go into this vault will be actually a longer belt that stretches all the way underneath this item vault over to here. And I'll show you why this belt is important for 2 other reasons than just being able to power it from this belt by placing 2 encased chain drives here. So first we'll place a brass funnel here to output the stripped logs, with an andesite funnel here to input the andesite casing. And to turn the logs into casing, we'll place a deployer here with a chute on top to input the andesite alloy. Then we'll place a shaft going from here all the way over to this andesite alloy vault and connect those up with a mechanical belt. And here's one of the reasons we need this mechanical belt to be longer, is because we can place a shaft in this mechanical belt and one above here, and then bring a belt up from the bottom to the top to give this belt power. And we can also place a brass funnel here to output the andesite alloy onto this belt. And now the andesite alloy will go from this belt down here and drop into the chute, so the deployer has andesite alloy to use. And we'll also break out these blocks, and we'll place 2 shafts in this belt. One of them will have a shaft on the end and the other will have a gearbox. Then we can place a mechanical belt here to bring the jungle planks into this vault. And we'll also place our mechanical saw here, filtered to only make jungle planks. And the reason we have a gearbox here, not just a shaft, is because this mechanical saw, whenever an item goes on it, it will actually pull that item in the opposite direction that a belt would with that same direction of rotation. So if we place a brass funnel here, filtered to only output one log at a time, this saw would have the jungle log drop off and go into it. And if this was a shaft, it would not bring the jungle planks onto this belt, but rather would shoot them off to this side. So that's why we need a gearbox here. Then we can place an andesite funnel here to bring the planks into the vault. Now that we have the andesite casings and the planks, which are two of the three basic items that we'll need to automate the other more complicated items, we need to make the third and final one, which is the shaft. And we'll actually be making them above this vault. So we'll start by placing a 2x2x1 block vault here. And since these shafts are also going to use andesite alloy, we'll place a belt here, and we'll split the andesite alloy by placing a brass tunnel, as well as an andesite funnel here. And we'll place some copycat panels here with a texture to make sure that the items don't fly off the belt if this item vault fills up. And we can give this power by taking from this belt and just placing a shaft between the two. Alright, now we'll place a 5-block long mechanical belt here with 2 mechanical saws here, filtered to only make shafts. Then we'll also want to bring a mechanical belt here to not only bring power from this belt to the deployer, but also so we can power this belt by bringing a mechanical belt up. And we can bring up 3 encased chain drives with 2 gearboxes to connect up these mechanical saws. And we'll place another copycat panel with a block texture so items don't fly off the end of this belt, as well as 2 andesite funnels to input the andesite alloy into these mechanical saws. Then we'll place a item vault here with 2 more andesite funnels to take the items into this vault. And lastly, we'll place a brass funnel here, which will finish off the automation of the shafts, which means we now have the 3 basic components being automated, and we can move on to the more complicated items. Now we'll place the 2 item vaults where our cogwheels and large cogwheels will end up. And for the cogwheels, we'll place a 2x2x4 item vault here, and a 2x2x3 item vault here for the large cogwheels. So the 3 mixers that we'll be using to mix the cogwheels and large cogwheels are going to be right here, and we'll of course need to place mechanical mixers on top of the basins. And to get the shafts, we'll place a shaft here, and we'll bring a mechanical belt all the way down to right here, and we'll place a 3-block long mechanical belt here to bring it to the other basins, as well as we'll place a chute on the end. And I actually meant to place the mechanical mixer on the end here, not here. Then we can place our 3 andesite funnels to input the shafts into these mixers. And we'll also want to set these 2 back mixers to make cogwheels, and this front mixer to make large cogwheels. And since cogwheels and large cogwheels both use the exact same items to craft, it doesn't matter that we're going to be putting them side by side. And we'll also place brass funnels under each basin, filtered to only output its specific item. So for these 2, we'll filter to cogwheel, and this one will be large cogwheel. And to get the planks into this vault, we can simply place 2 shafts here and make a mechanical belt going over to here, and place blocks on the end so items don't fly off. Then we'll place 3 input andesite funnels to input them into the basins, and a brass funnel to output the planks onto the conveyor. And to connect these 2 belts to power, you can place either a belt or an encased chain drive here, and we'll need to place a belt specifically so it can go diagonal here. Then we'll place 3 shafts and connect up an encased chain drive over like this. And the reason I use encased chain drives here and not mechanical belts is because a mechanical belt can pull you along, and this is a place where you may want to walk over. And the belt not only pulls you along if you don't have diving boots or aren't crouching, but it also makes the floor uneven. As you can see here, you would just sink into the floor a little bit, which is not a thing I would like to have in this factory. So if it's easier for you, you can use mechanical belts. But since we're going to be automating encased chain drives with this factory, it shouldn't be too much of a problem. And to get power to these mechanical mixers, we'll place a cogwheel here with 3 encased chain drives and a shaft to connect up to this belt. And we have to use encased chain drives here because a mechanical belt can't rotate 90 degrees like an encased chain drive can. We'll also need to place a shaft down here. And you may need to remove this chute temporarily since it could be a little bit difficult to get that into place, although you could rotate it into place. Then we'll have another shaft here, and we'll connect it over to this belt, and we'll connect these 2 shafts with a belt and put an andesite funnel on the end so the cogs can go into this vault. And to get the cogwheels to go into this chest, we can place a brass funnel filter to only output cogwheels here with a chute below it. And to get the large cogwheels into this vault, we'll place a brass funnel here filter to only output the large cogwheels with a andesite funnel inputting into the vault above it. Then we can place a brass funnel here with 3 chutes going down into this chest. And if you wanted to, you could remove these 2 chutes, since you don't technically need them and the items would just drop onto this chute. But once this chest fills up with cogwheels, this andesite funnel is not going to stop outputting the large cogwheels, and since the chute won't be able to input them into the chest, you'll just have a bunch of large cogwheels sitting on top of the chute causing lag, which is not something you necessarily want, which is why we'll put the 3 chutes here instead. Now this should complete all of the automation we're going to be doing on this first floor. And it's on the second floor where we'll be making the encased chain drives and gearboxes, as well as the 1 bonus item. So we'll start by bringing the cogwheels up to the second floor. And to do that, we'll extend this encased chain drive by a few blocks over to here. Then we'll place 2 vertical gearboxes and place a shaft here with a mechanical belt attached that goes all the way up to this second floor. And we'll put a brass funnel here filtered to only output cogwheels. And on the end, we'll place a 3-block long item vault with an andesite funnel to input the cogwheels. And as for the andesite casings, we'll place a shaft here with an output brass funnel, and we'll bring a mechanical belt all the way up to here. And on the end, we'll place a 3-block long item vault with an input andesite funnel. And this belt will get powered by this chain drive. And from this vault, we can place a brass funnel here and bring a chute all the way down to the chest to store away andesite casings for anything you may need to use them for. Then we'll want to place a 2-block long item vault here with mechanical crafters in this shape to make the gearbox. You'll want to make sure these 3 on the outside are pointed in towards the middle, and the middle is pointed down, and the bottom is pointed into the item vault. Then we can place a chute here with 2 shafts like this and a mechanical belt, as well as a brass funnel to output the gearboxes onto this belt, where it can be then carried into this chest. And to connect this belt to power, we can simply place a shaft here with 2 encased chain drives, or another belt if you want. Then we'll need to place andesite funnels on the back of each of these mechanical crafters. And to get items into these mechanical crafters, we'll be using mechanical arms. And so the mechanical arms know where to take the cogwheels from. We'll place a depot here with a brass funnel outputting onto it. And we'll also place another depot here for the andesite casings. Then with a mechanical arm in our hand, we can right click on this depot so it knows where to take the casing from. And right click on the middle andesite funnel since that's where it needs to go for the recipe. Then we'll place the mechanical arm down here. And we'll actually be using 2 mechanical arms to input the cogwheels. So we'll right click on this depot with the first mechanical arm, as well as 2 of the side andesite funnels. and place the arm down here, and then we'll right click on the depot with the other mechanical arm, as well as the other two andesite funnels, and we'll place down this arm here. And having an extra arm to input the cogwheels just means the cogwheels will be inputted faster so that the gearboxes can be made more often. And to connect these mechanical arms up to power, we can place two cogwheels here with two encased chain drives. And to power these mechanical crafters, instead of having a shaft here, we can just place a cogwheel, which will not only connect this encased chain drive to this belt, but also it'll give the mechanical crafters power. Next, we'll be automating the encased chain drives. And first, we'll place our chute here to input the items into the chest, as well as a temporary block on top with the basin and the mechanical mixer above it. And we'll place a brass funnel below it, filtered to only output the encased chain drives. And the first item we need is andesite casings, and to do that we'll place our input andesite funnel here, as well as a mechanical belt that is going over to this block. Then we'll place another mechanical belt here that's diagonal. We'll connect this diagonal belt up to this encased chain drive using two more encased chain drives. And we'll connect these belts together using two more encased chain drives. Now we can place a brass funnel here that will output the andesite casing. And we'll also need to place a couple of copycat panels on the end like this. And we can give them a texture so that the items don't fly off this belt. And this also looks like it's giving the belt support. Now that we have andesite casing going into this basin, we need to get iron nuggets. And to do that, we'll place a mechanical belt here going down to this block, and two encased chain drives here, and we'll bring a mechanical belt from here all the way over to here, which we can power using a gearbox connected to this belt. And since this factory makes more iron nuggets than can be used to make the alloy, we can use these excess nuggets to go down this belt up here. We'll place an andesite funnel to let the nuggets in, and then we can use those nuggets to make our encased chain drives. We'll also need to get this mechanical mixer powered. To do that, we can place two encased chain drives here, as well as two shafts with a cogwheel on top, and that gets this mixer power. The bonus item we'll be making will be the chain conveyor. And if you don't know what this chain conveyor does, I'll show you real quick. So basically, you place down this chain conveyor, and then you right click on it with a vanilla chain in your hand, and then you can connect that to a second chain conveyor, and if you wanted, you can connect this chain conveyor up to another one, and then you can connect it back to make a loop. And then if you give this power, it will make all of these chain conveyors that are in the system spin, which can make for some realistic looking power lines. And I'm not going to go too in depth about this, but basically this chain conveyor was made to carry packages. So you can right click with a cardboard package in your hand and put it on this chain conveyor and it'll go around. And you can leave a comment down below if you want to know more about how these chain conveyors work, and I may do a video in the future explaining exactly how everything works with these. And also another fun little thing you can do with them is you can right click on them with a wrench in your hand and you'll just ride the chain. And if you make a split like this, while you're riding, you can also choose which direction you want to go by holding A or D. You can ride this conveyor and then I'll hold A to go this way, then it'll bring me around here, and then I can hold D to go the other way and A to go this way, and so on and so forth. But enough about chain conveyors, let's get to automating them. To automate the chain conveyors, we'll be using this recipe with mechanical crafters, which allows us to put a large cogwheel in the middle and 4 andesite casings on the outside to make 2 chain conveyors. We'll have the chain conveyors end up in this vault, and above it we'll place our 5 mechanical crafters in the same orientation as the gearbox. And we'll put a brass tunnel here to split the andesite casings from this belt so we can bring them over to these crafters. So we'll place a belt going like this, And we'll connect it to power by placing a shaft here with a gearbox. And on the end, we'll place a depot. Now to bring the large cogwheels, we'll place a belt going all the way over to here, with a depot on the end, and a gearbox here to give it power, with a brass funnel to output the cogwheels. And we can have the depot down here since the mechanical arms don't actually care if there is a block between where they're trying to grab, as long as it's in range of where they can reach. So we'll right click on the depot to tell the mechanical arm where to take the cogwheels from, and we'll right click on this middle funnel since that's where it needs to go, and we'll place the mechanical arm here. And it seems I forgot to place a brass funnel here so we can actually output the shafts onto this belt. So we'll just do that quickly. And we'll do the same thing as we did over here by having two different mechanical arms inputting the side items so that we can craft faster. To get power to these arms, we can place a vertical gearbox here, which will connect up to this drive, and then we'll place a cogwheel on top. And we can place a cogwheel here with 5 encased chain drives to bring the power over to the cogwheel. Now all we have to do is place a mechanical belt here with a gearbox to connect it up to this belt as well as a shaft on the belt. And on the end we'll place a chest with an andesite funnel going in and a brass funnel going out of this vault. Now the final bit of automation we need to do is actually that this tree farm won't quite make logs fast enough to keep up with how fast the logs are being used. And to fix that, we can place another identical tree farm mirrored over to this side to double our tree production. So I'll go ahead and do that and meet you back when it's done. We'll also instead need to place our portable storage interface that outputs here, and the one that connects to it on the contraption we'll place here and super glue that. Then we'll extend this belt by a block and place an output brass funnel. Now all we have to do is give each of them 2 stacks of jungle saplings. And we do 2 stacks of saplings in each because we have 128 spaces on each part of the farm where trees can be planted. We can place a chest here with a chute and an output brass funnel to allow some planks to go into it since we won't be using every single one of the planks that are made. That way you can always have a supply of planks if you ever need to come and grab it. And if you want, you can do the same thing with logs here as well. Now the final thing we can do to make this whole factory look a bit nicer before we start it up to see if it works is go and place andesite casings on each of these belts to make them look a little bit more supported. And of course, you don't have to do this if this is a bit too time consuming for you, but if you want to make it look a little bit nicer, you can. And we can also do some things like placing a couple of metal girders here to make it look like this belt is supported rather than just floating. And if you want, you can also do a similar thing with shafts that are in the floor, so you can just completely encase them in blocks, which will make the floor a bit more even. And you may especially want to cover up some of the conveyor belts that are on the ceiling. That way you can have a flatter ceiling. And once you feel like you have sufficiently encased everything you would like to, we can go ahead and turn everything in this factory on to see if it works. And to do that, we can simply press this lever. Starting from over here, we can see that andesite alloys are going into this deployer. This has andesite alloys and it should start making shafts. And we can see the shafts going into this basin. And we'll also want to start up these mechanical bearings so they can plant the trees. Then you can either wait for trees to grow or you can just bone meal them to make sure that your system works properly instead of waiting for them to grow all on their own. And once these tree farms start outputting items, we can see if everything works properly. We can see here in this chest, we actually got logs, sticks, and saplings. And to fix that, we can simply tell this to only output logs. And we can temporarily set this to not allow things out so we can test the automation. Then if we go around this side, we'll be able to see that these mechanical saws didn't actually get powered. To power them, we can simply place 2 gearboxes here, then set these to output items. And if we go around here, we can see that we're making planks and they're going into the vault. And we're also making andesite casings. And we can also see that the jungle planks are actually going into this chest. And to stop that from temporarily happening, we can simply tell this to only input. Now we can go over here and see that the cogwheels are being made. They're going into this vault where the large cogs are going up into this one, and the small ones are going up this belt. And we have the mechanical arms working and putting gearboxes together. And we already have 26 gearboxes in this chest. And we can also temporarily keep this thing from outputting andesite casings into this chest so that we can see these other machines working. And we are making encased chain drives. And I made a slight mistake here by putting this chute here, because now this chute is actually taking items from this belt and putting them into this chest. And we can fix that by moving this belt down to here instead, and instead put an andesite funnel on this chest. And we'll also need to extend this belt down to here, or we can then place a couple more encased chain drives, and this will get this belt moving. And now we won't have andesite casings going into that chest anymore. And we can see that the chain conveyors are also being made, and we have a lot of iron nuggets going down this belt, which is good. And if we come over here, we can see that our shaft chest is already entirely full. That was really fast. And we have the large cogwheel and small cogwheel chests filling up. And we can go ahead and put this brass funnel back to output into this chest. And since we have all of our items being stored, that means that this farm is working properly. This is the finished build, and leave a comment down below what you would like to see in the next video. And if this helped you, I would really appreciate it if you hit that like and subscribe button, turn on notifications, and if you want to help support the channel even more, you can become a member. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.